Moving on, in the latest tussle between MK Stalin government, Tamil Nadu Governor Ravi walked out of the assembly, refusing to read out the customary address to the House at the beginning of the first session of the year. Last year too, Governor Ravi had skipped parts of the official speech prepared by the ruling DMK government. Now, he said his repeated requests and advice to show due respect to the national anthem and play it at the beginning and end of his address have been ignored. More eyebrow-raising were his comments that he disagrees with numerous passages of the speech on factual and moral grounds, and that he lending his voice to them could constitute a constitutional travesty. The assembly, though, later passed a resolution considering the governor's address as fully delivered. So after the standoff, the governor's office came out with a statement putting out their version of events. I just want to take you through that. So the Raj Bhavan said that the draft governor's address was received on 9th February 2024. The file was returned with two advice that the governor gave. Advice number one was that they should play the national anthem at the beginning and end of the governor's speech. And secondly, that the address should not be a forum for peddling misleading statements and partisan political views. Raj Bhavan says the government chose to ignore the governor's advice. The governor then skipped the speech as it contained passages which he says are misleading claims and facts. But the governor sat through the speaker reading the Tamil version of the same speech. Then when he rose for the national anthem, expecting there will be the national anthem played, the assembly speaker launched a tirade against him, and therefore he was even called a follower of Nathuram Godse and more in the assembly, and this is why he left immediately to maintain the dignity of his office. Now, this is not the first time such a change has been made by a governor. Last year also, as I mentioned, Tamil Nadu governor deviated from his speech, skipped certain mentions, and then later Chief Minister MK Stalin moved a resolution to only record the approved speech. In 2020, Kerala Governor Arif Mohammed Khan had read out the state government's opposition to the CAA Act then, but he took a pause to mention that he does not agree with the state's view. Back in 2018, Kerala Governor P. Sathaisivam also skipped parts of the government's speech that were critical of the Modi-led central government. And in 2017, Governor of Tripura, Tathagat Roy, skipped parts of his speech that he didn't agree with. They had claims of distress that demonetization had caused and raised concerns over alleged communal tensions in the country. So the question we're asking is this: clearly this is happening a lot. More and more governors are choosing to dissent. But can they do so? Exactly who is crossing the line here is a question we take to our guests.
My repeated request to show due respect to the national anthem has been ignored. I lending my voice to them would constitute constitutional travesty.
Who is he to agree with what is in the governor's address? Was he an elected representative of the people?
Dr. S.A.S. Hafizullah is spokesperson of the DMK joining us. Sumit Chandar is advocate, constitutional expert, and Ramaswamy Mayappan is political analyst on the show. I do thank you all for joining us. Dr. Hafizullah, I want to begin with you. Is it right for the assembly speaker, regardless of what happened and whether you like his actions or not, is it right for the governor to be called names inside the assembly, as the speaker did, calling him the follower of so-and-so? Political disagreements aside and actions aside, there is a certain dignity with which the governor has to be addressed.
No, I want to put it the other way. There is a dignity that the governor should act. The act of the speaker is a retaliation to the behavior of the governor at the first sight. See, there is a tradition and the convention in the Assembly of Tamil Nadu that a Tamil Thai Waltz, which is no way inferior to the national anthem for the Tamils, is the first thing to be played before the address. And after the address is completed, there is a national anthem. This is the tradition. Today, this governor comes, he wants to change the tradition. We change it for him, and tomorrow the other governor comes and says, no, instead of the national anthem in the beginning, I want something else. So how can an elected assembly keep changing to the will and wish of the governor, who is just a temporary visitor to the state? We have a tradition. Tamil Thai Valtu is equal to
I
the
get that.
Tamils.
So
as
like
it
I
is a
said,
national
I'm not
anthem to us.
disagreeing with the point
Yes.
you're making. Fair enough. But you cannot quite call the governor names inside assembly. So if you are also escalating the situation, you could have registered your protest outside the assembly. Surely the government would like what the governor said or did. But retaliating, the word you're using, retaliating against a governor in itself is the issue here.
No, for that, the governor should behave like a governor. Governor is behaving like a leader of opposition. Who is he to comment on what is being said? Governor's job is to just read out whatever is being given to the governor by the state government. Today, his behavior of asking to play national anthem instead of Tamil Thai Valtu is an insult to the Tamils. It's against the tradition of Tamils, against the emotions of Tamil.
But
So,
Dr.
in
Hafizullah,
such a
what I'm
scenario-
saying is, I think you're missing what I'm saying. I'm saying you can have a disagreement, you can say this even on this debate. You can come out of the assembly and say these
No,
things.
this-
To call
yes,
somebody a
yes.
follower of Nathuram Godse as if that makes him a criminal, is that fair response from a government to a governor?
Yeah, but these speeches of the speaker were personal. It was immediately expunged. So that is
Sure.
the dignity we show. Yes,
So that's
it is
fine. No,
expunged.
that's how you
Information.
respond in a dignified manner. You can't, you can't retaliate and then claim higher moral ground. Is what I'm trying to establish.
No.
If you retaliate
No, you
also
do-
in similar ways or worse, then you are as good as anybody else. You don't get
No,
high moral
being
ground.
being a Nathuram Godse is such a demeaning word for the people. Is it so?
Why did you
is
use
being
it then?
offensive?
You meant it as an insult.
we
It's
said
not
that-
about.
that is the-
You're
that-
not understanding.
that
It's
is the
not about whether
ideology.
it is demeaning or not. You meant it as an insult.
Yes, yeah, we never meant it as an insult. If it is so insulting, then it is for the governor to be. See, we said.
Okay, now
in
you're
the
saying
house-
you didn't meant it as an
in the
insult. Then
house
what
of
was the
assembly-
need to say it?
In the house of the assembly, a nominated person cannot come in and try to demean and try to change the tradition and convention of the election.
Okay, I don't
members
refute
of the
that
house.
point you're making. I'll take that to our guests
but-
also joining.
but- no, I
One
think
second,
that is the main
I have to
point that
settle
needs to
one
be
by one, no?
discussed today.
I have to settle both the state's actions and the governor's actions. So Ramaswamy Mayappan, I want to ask you, I know more and more governors are doing this, but are they also not kind of taking too far what the governor's discretion may be in picking and choosing what they should say or read out from what is a conventional government speech? Now, if everybody started doing that, the whole constitutional mechanism will come to an end.
Ms. Gupta, very good evening to your viewers. See, the primary concern then should arise from the Constitution. What does Article 176(1) read? It reads that the address should contain elements that inform the legislature of the causes of its summons. And how is the causes of its summons interpreted? We will have to look at the Constitutional Assembly debates. 18th May 1949 and 1st June 1949, this entire term and the governor's special address have been debated heavily, both in the construct of the parliament as well as in the legislature assembly. So when this is debated and discussed, K.T. Shah raises questions as to what would be the exact nature of the discussion, and is he restricted to only parrot what the government wants, or is he to address the interests of the people of the state or the people of the country? And this is answered by B.R. Ambedkar. Everyone prides and the DMK talks of him very highly, but refuses to follow his words to the letter of the law. And B.R. Ambedkar categorically states the governor is not only portraying the interests of the government, but also the interests of the people. The interests of the people will have to be brought about. 1. 2. When they say causes of its summons, it means what is the subject that is going to be discussed by the legislature in the future. This address, there is a 48-page address of the governor that has been released by the legislature. The 48-page address discusses matters that can't be discussed by the legislature. Matters that are in the first list of the Constitution. Not in the concurrent list, not in the state list, but in the central list. Matters of fund allocation, fund utilization by the center. Matters of a private trust. Matters of a trust under the control of the Prime Minister. All these are not matters of subject of discussion by the state legislature. When that can't be addressed, when people who are responsible for those respective bodies and organizations can't play any role in the legislature, those can't be matters of causes of its summons. That's
Okay.
categorical.
What about
That
the
is what
national
Constitution
anthem
says.
issue? Should the governor insist that the tradition be broken in the Chennai assembly?
No. So, tradition is something that evolves. Tradition is not something that stays stuck constantly without reason. And here, the governor categorically does not say that he does not want Tamil Thai Valthu to be sung. At every event he goes, he insists upon Tamil Thai Valthu being sung. Even beyond 6 p.m. when events close, he says Tamil Thai Valthu should be the first anthem that's taken up. But the question about the national anthem being sung, there is a Ministry of Home Affairs guideline issued on how a governor's event or a parliamentarian's event or a member of legislature's event should proceed and should conclude. And when that is a requirement, all that he requests is that let the national anthem be sung before and after.
Okay.
So when that request is not only his personal interest and is also from a Ministry of Home Affairs protocol, that should be followed. 1. 2, what is wrong in a national anthem being sung? National anthem is something that brings pride of the entire nation. The use of the Tamil region, the Dravida, is used in the national anthem. Rabindranath Tagore is rightfully put its place and talks about the entire nation.
Okay, let's not get into that. Let's not get into that. What's right or wrong about the national anthem? But Sumit Chandra, I want to come to you. Does the bottom question, the bottom line is this: does the governor have the discretion to say, okay, I don't agree with this as a constitutional position holder? I can't read this out. This is not in the list of what the state legislature should be talking about, and therefore I'm choosing not to read it. Sumit, I think you're on mute.
Yes.
Go ahead.
With respect to this, for understanding the powers of the governor, let us first understand what the Constitution has to say, and then I'll tell you the interpretations as to what the powers of the governor in such issues are. Article 176 of the Constitution of India, which relates to the special address by the governor, it that the governor shall address the Legislative Assembly at the commencement of the first session, which in this case, either it was not done or partially done, or has it been edited by him? Now, these are the issues which are not of today. It has happened also. Say, for example, in the Calcutta High Court had held in the case of Abul Habibullah versus the West Bengal Assembly. Now, in that case, the High Court had held that the governor, of course, cannot refuse to deliver the address, and he must, it is his duty to fulfill his constitutional duty to address under Article 176 of the Constitution. But it also said that an incomplete or a modified speech by the governor may be an irregularity, but it will not be illegal.
So it's not barred.
It is not barred. And Article 212 of the Constitution says that anything which is the legitimacy of the House proceedings cannot be contested on the basis of a procedural irregularity. So Article 212 prohibits that absence of the governor's customary address at the beginning of the House proceedings cannot invalidate those proceedings, and therefore Article 212 prohibits anybody from challenging that before the court as well.
Yeah, fair enough. I don't think anybody is seeking to take this outside of the assembly. Everybody understands what happens in the assembly, stays in the assembly. It has happened in other assemblies as well. But Dr. Hafizullah, you want to respond to that? The governor clearly seems to have the discretion. He's not going to be somebody who just, as a puppet reads out something. And if the governor is giving reasons as to why he's not agreeing with the speech, you have to respect that.
No, you should also understand it's a tradition. Shall give. It never says it should. It is a shall. In very many assemblies, in Telangana very recently, the assembly started, the conduction was without a governor's address. So these are all traditional matters, a matter of convention. So there are very many judgments which said that the governor has to go by the aid and advice of the Council of the Ministers. Here is the entire government which is asking him to read this out. You have a...
I get what you're saying, but the point is that two experts have pointed out, and one of them is a lawyer who's pointed out that, see, this
both
has
of
been...
them are liars.
One second, this has been...
Both of them...
Both of them are
Both
lawyers.
of them are lawyers for your
But my
information.
point
I think
being-
you also as an anchor cannot cherry pick.
Arey, one second, listen to my question. My point being, they have outlined how this has come up even before courts in the past. So this is not something that hasn't been debated or deliberated in the past. The governor clearly knew what he was doing, right? So his opposition to the speech is what his opposition to the speech is. He's entitled to be able to do so as the governor is what we are trying to establish. Now moving on from that, is it fair for the state government to lose its cool to such an extent? You start calling him names inside the assembly.
Madam, the acts of the governor cannot be justified at the first place. You are telling about Article 176 and Article 212 when it comes to proceedings of the assembly. Here is an elected state government which is drafting a 48-page draft and asking the governor to read. If there is any discrepancy, if there is an issue, that is why the entire assembly is going to debate. There is a leader of opposition. There are elected MLAs from the BJP. They are going to have a debate and people are going
But
to know
he
what is
says
right
he
and
doesn't
wrong.
want to lend his voice to it. That's a choice he has to make. You can debate it.
Exactly.
You've anyways put it in
you
front
have
of the
to-
house.
Yes, you have to understand the governor is a post that is appointed by the center
Yes.
to overlook what things are going. If he is going to choose what the government is going to say, I am going to read only this line, I am going to read only that line, that is not the job of the governor.
Arey,
It is
but
an
we just
irregularity.
established the governor has the power or the discretion to
that
say
is an
no to that.
irregularity.
We established it.
That
You
is
can't
an
really
irre-
argue with that. You may not like it.
No. You listen to the learned senior advocate here. He said it is not illegal, but it is an irregularity. Why should be a
Yeah, there's a
governor involved in
difference between the
irregularity?
two. So that means the
Yeah,
governor
so
has
it
the
is irregular.
discretion. Okay, anyways,
It
let
is
me give Mr.
irregular.
Mayappan
It
20
is-
seconds.
it
I've
is-
got barely 20 seconds, Mr. Mayappan. There should be some sort of a healthy camaraderie between the governor's office and the government. It clearly seems to be that that is not the case in Tamil Nadu and more of these states. That's the problem.
See, the governor could have gone with the same routine that he did in 2023, where he went about just skipping certain portions and reading certain portions. But the governor wanted to leave that animosity aside. He wanted a clear position where he categorically stated that I do not agree with it. Therefore, I am not going to read it. Therefore, my advice is that I will first read the Tirukural from Saint Thiruvalluvar, and then I will advise the legislature saying, give you best wishes to address issues of the people, but the speaker shall read out. And that's the reason he sat through the entire sitting when the speaker read out, and he stood up for the national anthem, which you brought out as well. But subsequently, the national anthem was not sung, but instead there was a political remark made at the governor's address.
Okay,
That
I have
was
to
not-
leave it at that. Clearly, situation is not very good as far as the relationship is concerned. That is really what is emerging in many states, and that's the crux of this. But the governor certainly not insisting instead that he is going to dissent wherever he chooses to do so. Time for me to take your leave. Thanks a lot for watching. The Hard Facts is coming up next.